We beginnen ietsje later dan de techniek wat problemen heeft gegeven. Ik zal me even voorstellen, ik ben Guido Valk, een architect en onderdeel van de groep die deze middag heeft georganiseerd. Nou, welkom dat jullie, fantastisch dat jullie zo met grote getalen zijn gekomen. Gisteren in Rotterdam hadden we ook een goede opkomst met ruim 100 mensen. Zoals het er vanmiddag uitziet, zal het toch iets anders zijn dan van plan waren geweest. De organisatie van Trouw Amsterdam was aanvankelijk heel enthousiast over om iets te organiseren. En we hebben met z'n allen enorm ons best gedaan om een debat te organiseren zoals aanvankelijk was aangekondigd. Maar we hebben eigenlijk geen goede opponent kunnen vinden. De enige opponent die we hadden gevonden, die heeft had zich teruggetrokken. En ik had ook informatie opgestuurd, kennelijk was dat te goed. Die informatie. Dus, maar hij hield in dat de organisatie Trouw Amsterdam het niet in het programma kon opnemen, omdat dat de absolute voorwaarde was om dit mede te organiseren. De enige mogelijkheid die toen nog restte was om deze ruimte te huren, commercieel te huren. Dus het kost wat meer, dus we hopen dat u grif zult geven. U kunt blijven en flink consumeren, dat wil ons ook wel helpen. En er komt halverwege de presentatie komt er nog een collectebus wordt er nog rondgegeven. Alsof je in de kerk zit, maar ja, ik was gisteren ook verbaasd toen dat gebeurde, maar dat hoort er helemaal bij. Er worden kosten gemaakt en we hopen dat we een beetje kiek kunnen spelen. Genoeg over geld, daar hebben we het hier niet over. We moeten het over veel belangrijke dingen hebben vanavond. Wat wil ik nog vergeten? Ik wil graag weten hoe men hier gekomen is. Ik wil graag de handen voor mensen die het via de krant hebben genomen bijvoorbeeld. Niemand. Via, één iemand. Wie heeft het via e-mail? Persoonlijke e-mail? Oké, dat zijn er wel wat meer. E-mail van wie? Via internet? Ja, dat is belangrijke informatie voor ons voor de volgende keer eventueel. Er zijn natuurlijk veel meer interessante lezers die we kunnen uitnodigen.
De press neemt op basis op een BNR.
BNR, ja?
Daar hebben we op gehoord. Die doen het via internet.
Oké, goed. Dus je hebt mijn kleine verhaaltje ook gehoord en geweldige oppositie die daar was.
Ja.
Leuk. Het gaat niet om mij vanavond, het gaat om een bijzondere gast. Ik moet even een slokje water drinken. En de rest zal ik in het Engels doen, omdat onze gast natuurlijk uit Amerika komt. Ik zal vast wel wat vergeten zijn te vertellen, maar ik hoop dat u een interessante en informatieve middag zal hebben. En er zal na afloop nog voldoende tijd zijn om te discussiëren met elkaar. U heeft kans om vragen te stellen na afloop. Dus blijf alsjeblieft nog even hangen en dan kunnen we ook gaan zien wat we verder kunnen gaan doen. Ik ga de introductie even voorlezen, die hebben we samen geprepareerd. Dus daar ga ik. Our speaker this evening has been an architect for over 23 years in the San Francisco Bay Area and is a member of the prestigious American Institute of Architects. He's a professional willing to place his credibility and reputation on the line, and who has endured substantial personal sacrifice. A tireless and tenacious advocate for questions that all too few are willing to ask, and truths that fewer still are willing to face. Truths that may shape the foundations of our worldview. His deep concern about the destruction of the 3 World Trade Center high-rises on 9/11 began after hearing the startling conclusions of a reluctant 9/11 researcher David Ray Griffin. Dr. Griffin was interviewed that eye-opening day in May of 2006 on KPFA's Guns and Butter radio program by Bonnie Faulkner in Berkeley, California. This changed our speaker's life radically. and launched his own unyielding quest for the truth about 9/11, inspiring him to found the organization Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth now numbers over 1,500 architects and engineers and over $12,000, all demanding a new investigation into these catastrophic structural failures. Our speaker has presented to over 150 packed audiences of 100 to 700 people whose worldview has been irrevocably altered by this myth-shattering information. He's a personal source of inspiration to me, and I consider him to be a beacon of truth, a patriot, and a friend. Please give a warm welcome in Amsterdam to Mr. Richard Gage, AE911.
I appreciate that warm introduction. I just spent time at two of the finest museums with incredible artists here. It was so humbling. At the Van Gogh Museum and the big museum that has the Rembrandts. God, you guys are, you walk on the shoulders of giants here. It's very humbling. My Nederlands is niet zo goed. Ik spreek echt verder Engels. Good evening, and it's great to be here in Amsterdam. Thank you for your courage and for your willingness to reconsider the very difficult subject of the destruction of 9/11 and the staggering loss of life. The destruction of the World Trade Center towers on 9/11. You know, just as architecture and engineering projects are sometimes quite joyful, sometimes quite difficult, this particular one has proven to be one of the most difficult. Not difficult in terms of reaching conclusions, though, but difficult in terms of the implications of those conclusions, and finding people open-minded and willing, like yourselves, to come and look at the science-based forensic evidence, examining the actual facts. Our commitment to you tonight is to speak the truth and to leave you with extremely valuable information. I believe you'll come to a new understanding about what is science and what is conspiracy. But please check out every fact that you hear tonight. We're not looking for believers. This is not some kind of new religion or conspiracy theory. Do your own research. It's extremely important, after all, that we know the whole truth about 9/11. It served as the pretext for the invasion of two countries, in which already over 1 million people have perished, and the loss, of course, of many of our hard-won civil liberties that we used to cherish in the United States, as well as instituting abhorrent policies of extraordinary rendition and torture. And the ensuing global war on terror as well, which directly affects all of us around the planet, and a host of other ills that we're suffering from in the United States and all around the world. Now, all of this remains intact if we continue to sweep the truth about 9/11 under the rug. And only the truth about 9/11 will stop another 9/11 type attack from happening again. So these are the reasons that we need to peer back into this painful part of our recent world history and re-examine the relatively new evidence that we've not even seen in the mainstream media. Speaking of which, Time magazine reported in 2006 that 36% of Americans want a new investigation, and that this is a mainstream political reality. The 9/11 Truth Movement. It's not a fringe phenomenon. Of greater concern, perhaps, to many is another poll in 2007, which finds that up to 16% of Americans believe the Twin Towers were brought down by explosives. Well, this is pretty extraordinary, and I would sure like to know where we are in the room before we begin. So let me take a a poll here. We'll find out where we are. I'd like to know, for instance, how many of us believe that the Twin Towers were brought down according to the official story. First, I'll ask you. Hold on 1 second. There we go. And then how many of us pretty much are unsure, and how many of us may already believe that the Twin Towers were brought down with explosives? So first, the official story. We have the jet plane impacts into the towers, a large explosion with jet fuel, large fires, and the weakening of the structural system of the towers, and a gravitational collapse all the way down to the ground. Haven't heard otherwise. How many of us pretty much believe that that's the story that happened? Raise your hand real high. I'd like to count you so we get a sense of where we are. An official story. No reason to believe otherwise. This is what we were told. Go like this so I can actually see you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Anybody else? How many of us are unsure? Maybe you've heard a few things, and you're here to learn more and see what is this about. Now, how many of us are unsure? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 37. And how many believe in the controlled demolition evidence already? Oh my God, most of you. Where? You guys didn't bring your friends. Why not? Oh, you don't have any friends. They won't talk to you anymore? Oh my God. Well, we're going to try to help you with that tonight if we can. So now, NIST is the National Institute for Standards and Technology. They claim they found no evidence for explosives. Later, they acknowledged that they never looked for it. Now, how can you find what you're not looking for? But interestingly enough, thousands of others, scientists, architects, engineers, found it, and it wasn't that difficult to find. They looked for it, and it wasn't difficult to find at all. We've been speaking about it now in 30 American states, 25 cities, 18 foreign countries. We have 1,500 architects and engineers demanding a new investigation based on this evidence. By the way, are there any architects here tonight? Architects, 1, 2, 3. Anybody else in the back? No? How many engineers? Watch this, they always have numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And how many normal people? There we go. This is good. It's really important to have you guys here to balance the rest of us out as architects and engineers. Well, the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth are not conspiracy theorists. We're professionals, technical and building professionals, calling for a new investigation based on forensic evidence. We don't have conspiracy theories for you. Sorry to tell you. We just have some information to look at and decide about. I'm an architect. I've been an architect for 23 years in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm now devoting 100% of my energy and time to this cause, and tonight you're going to see why. But like other architects, I've designed numerous fireproof steel frame buildings like these $3 million and $10 million gymnasiums, and the day-to-day construction administration services for this $120 million high school.